Welcome, everyone, to I So Appreciate You, a raw, funny, and uniquely insightful podcast about the issues and opportunities we all face as values-based leaders and humans. I'm Nadege.
And I'm Melanie. We're colleagues at the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation, and we're friends. When we get together, our conversations can go anywhere, especially when bringing a friend or two along for the ride.
So we're inviting you to join us and some incredible guests as we explore the challenges and triumphs of people shaking up our community for the better.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to I So Appreciate You. We're super excited for today. We have Rammy Mohamed from Ramadan Design. She's so many things.
She is. And I'm so looking forward to getting into her clothes and everything she does.
Yeah, fashion designer extraordinaire. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, this is an interesting episode for us because I think of you as like a fashion icon.
Oh, God.
I know you're going to love this. You're going to love
Settle
this.
down.
But truly, I mean, fashion, we can talk about me in a sec, maybe, but like in your life, it seems to play a very particular role. Can you talk about what that is if you're comfortable?
I mean, it's not that serious, or maybe it is, and I don't even fully.
That's what I think. I think we need to have a moment here.
Yeah. So I've never really thought about myself as a fashionable person, in the sense that like I see other people and I'm like, oh wow, like look at what they're doing. They're putting together colors and fabrics. But I have often been the fashionable. Oh my gosh, I didn't even say that word. Person
have
in
an
the
adversion.
space.
We have to have this moment.
I mean, applying for a job at the law firm, they gave you the rules, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to wear a black suit.
I remember that.
Standard, like skirts. Ideally, I was still in the era where they were telling you to wear skirts and not pants. Gross. And I broke the rules. Like I showed up in it was black, but it had pink pinstripes, and it was a 3/4 sleeve.
Ah, yes.
But like I didn't feel confident and strong in like a generic black suit, but I found that suit. I think I got it at Express, probably. Who knows? And I was like, this is me. And I know that I showed up better in those interviews in that suit than I would have had I worn the other suits. And I got plenty of offers, so I think that bears out. And so I think I realized at some point for me, fashion wasn't necessarily so much about being fashiony, but it was about like being in the power of the moment, like whatever I needed in the moment. Like I still distinctly remember a deposition I had to take. I was terrified because opposing counsel was particularly just argued everything. Yes, I was a litigator. Yes, I know like conflict and, adversarial processes is part of what we do, but I don't like conflict for no good reason.
Yeah.
And this was an opposing counsel that just liked to start trouble. And it was a big case. And so that day I wore a red jacket to the deposition because red is my power color.
Move, yeah.
And like red is not a color you expect lawyers to show up, wearing. But I was like, I have to show up as like my biggest, baddest self. And the only way for me to do that is to wear the color that I believe is my power color.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, fashion is always about like what is the armor I need for that day, and not armor as in I'm going to war, but like what do I need today? Do I need softness? So then I'm going to be layered and baggy and whatever. Do I need to be like a badass? So it's like here are the heels with the spikes. Those are my Valentinos. I love them. And like the pencil skirt and the like clearly sharp edges. I don't know. That's kind of how I think about it.
And the reason I bring it up, for those of you who might not follow Nadege on Instagram, you should, because and I think you described it perfectly, like your mood factors in sometimes, from what I can tell, to what you're wearing, and you're very creative in terms of how you put things together. And you may or may have not gotten many photos from me in a dressing room having a meltdown and panic attack. So I also trust your advice and guidance. No, don't do that. That looks okay. So like, I heed your advice. So anyway, that's really interesting to hear. Okay. Fashion is important.
I mean, it is, I think. And I think it's a big part of who we are. And I think even when you think it's not important, I think I know you care about fashion.
I 100% care, but I have meltdowns all the time around it. I'm kind of caught between two worlds. One is I do like expression. Like I like sort of my signature things that I like. And then over here, I'm like, but it would be so easy to have a uniform. Like, you know, I'm like, where should I be? And it's an identity crisis that I have often with my clothes. So because I don't have that path, I think I fight it more than I embrace it.
Oh, that's so interesting. Because I feel like I can always tell when somebody is wearing something that they love.
Oh.
Because you just show up
and
differently.
That's the truth.
Like,
when you look
in
good.
Your energy. And it's like, you know, and good is defined by whomever. So like, it's not even like good is wearing these 3 things. It's like
how you feel
like you look like a rock star.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, I can almost like receive that energy. And I know I've said to people, oh my God, what is happening here? You look amazing today.
Oh, I've gotten that from you. And yes, that feels good because you can read
the reaction, and then you get like this joy back from the person because they put something together that was so them, and you received it as them.
How, you know, it's interesting because you've called me in those moments, like, and other times when I'm probably feeling like crap because I threw on whatever, or vice versa, you know, like I'm not feeling well, so I don't take time. So you can, you're like a fashion detective.
I don't know. That's, you know, who's probably an actual fashion detective? Rammy.
Rammy is, yes.
We should probably, because she's like a legit expert and a legit fashion icon. So like, should we get to that conversation?
Let's bring her on.
All right. By now, you know, Melanie and I work for a community foundation. But what is a community foundation? How does it differ from other foundations and nonprofit organizations? Community foundations, like the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation, bring together the financial resources of families, individuals, and organizations who care about a specific place and then invest those resources back into the community. Want to know more about us and how we do our work? Visit spmcf.org/blog and search, "What is a community foundation?" Welcome back, listeners. We are super excited to be joined by Rammy Mohamed of Ramadan Designs. Hi, Rammy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, let me tell our listeners a little bit about you before we dive on in. So for those of you who don't know, and you should know, but for those of you who don't know, Rammy is a highly acclaimed fashion designer. She is the founder, owner, and creative force behind Ramadan Designs, which is St. Paul based. And Rammy has dressed some notable Twin Cities change makers, including one of our recent guests, Sina Hodges.
Oh, yes. Love Sina.
I know, we're just all the connections.
No, I know. So I was Googling that. I admired that dress before I knew it was yours. That was really gorgeous. So Rammy, before we get into the questions we have for you, we like to kick off our podcast with a little bit of a this or that moment, just kind of loosen us up. So,
which I love.
Okay, good. So she's a listener. Thank you for listening. Okay, first one: dine alone or watch a movie alone, and this would be out in the world.
Watch a movie alone. I can't do restaurant by myself.
Have you ever?
Never.
Oh, okay.
I could do a coffee shop.
Yeah.
A restaurant. I can't. No.
Oh, yeah.
It's on my list, though. Okay. That and a movie.
Okay, good.
I mean, you could I've done it before. Have you?
Yeah.
But I probably spent way too much time on my phone, though. Although I was reading a book on my phone. So does that count as being
Oh, absolutely. It does count.
Okay.
Yeah.
I admire that.
All right. The next one's a little bit of a seasonal question. Apple cider or hot chocolate?
Neither.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That was affirmative.
Yeah.
Maybe coffee. We have
I'm
coffee
a coffee
sitting
girl,
in front of you. Okay, yeah.
Any way you serve it, I'll have it.
Yes. I love you already. Okay, for an art project, crayons or glue?
Glue.
Oh, that was really fast. You knew exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could do so much with glue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I'm intrigued because you're actually super talented. So you say that, and I kind of want to know what I'm not imagining with glue, because I would have picked crayons.
Paper maches. You could do different shapes. You can make jewelry out of them.
Right.
Yeah, and it's messy and it's kind of nice when you clean up, like just peeling off the glue.
Yeah.
Oh, that is satisfying.
Super satisfying.
That is super satisfying.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So I think that some of our listeners will be fascinated to learn that you have like an accounting and finance background. Like you're a business person. And I know that, we've talked to a bunch of folks with, artistic backgrounds or who didn't necessarily start in those spaces. And we also know that there are people out there who are kind of afraid to change course if their passion calls them elsewhere, which you did. You did change course after going to school for something else. And we'd love to have you talk a little bit about your journey into fashion.
Yeah. I've always been like passion. I had a passion for fashion, and I had an eye in terms of like how folks put clothes together and how we identify folks based on their styles. And I was lucky enough to witness my uncle create garments growing up. And it was cool to see at one point his clothes to be featured on a local television in East Africa. And seeing these very famous people wearing his clothes definitely ingrained in my brain. And my family and I were one of those lucky refugees to settle in St. Paul. As many immigrants in first generation understands, like my family was very, not verbally necessarily, but had an expectation of like, you go to college, you get educated, you get a better job than we did, and you do very well. Like, there's no question to it. We brought you here, so you need to make something out of yourself. So the arts was out of question. I mean, we barely have health insurance, let alone to live off of that. So I think, and I, like many East Africans, they're into the medical field. I feel people's pain. I can't see blood. I can't.
Yeah.
No, I can't see people suffer whatsoever because I feel it like physically in my body. I knew that was not for me, but I tend to excel in art. As an ESL student, I excelled in art to the point where I took an IB course in high school for art. I was like, wait, museums are a thing? But I can go and look at these art that are made, right. And I got obsessed. And I always try to find a way to combine art into what I'm wearing also. And eventually I studied business because it was a lot easy. And I was lucky enough to get a job at ABM company. It's a parking company that works in conjunction with the city of Minneapolis. I worked in their parking department for accounting. I learned a lot about hunting and fishing because that's what my coworkers talked about.
I didn't expect that.
It was completely male-dominated industry, and they were so sweet. And I learned a lot about baseball and things like because that's what they talked about. But I knew this was not the life I wanted to live. But I initially wanted to open a boutique because I was also on a journey of discovering myself and who I am and just trying to find a place in this world. And I realized I need to embrace like who I am as a Muslim woman and also as an American because I grew up here. But there's always like still is huge like different communities in terms of Muslim Americans as identity wise in terms of clothing. And so I'm like, and I shopped everywhere and I would get a lot of compliments. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a boutique where people can come and shop what I like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I can maybe make them. And I'm like, oh, I can hire people to make clothes for me and I'll sell it in my store. And I realized there's a lot of middlemen, right? They don't understand the way I choose my fabric and things like that. They wouldn't. So I was like, you know what? Let me look into what if I just go to school and learn all the tricks and I can open my own boutique. So that's how fashion school came about. It wasn't like a dream or anything. It was more of like practical, like I need to learn how things are made. And then that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. Fashion school and art school changed the way I see things. changed the way I see the world. That was my journey into art school.
That's fascinating. And I love that it was a practical thing that actually took you to art school, which is not normally what people think about as the inspiration.
Correct.
At that point in time, did you feel that pressure lessen with what you were supposed to do versus now you're pursuing something that you're passionate about? Because still, I think art school and even fashion might not be looked at in the same way as like being a doctor or going to business school in terms of like how we are supposed to make money and culture and society.
True, and which kind of sucks because
it absolutely 100% sucks.
And it really helped me see, okay, art and fashion is as important as the doctor, because if the doctor is doing your surgery, he's most likely wearing a gown that's made by someone like myself.
Yep.
Correct? It came from our industry. It's not like folks are walking around naked. You need creatives. Right. You need innovation in our city to wear the garments you're wearing.
I really love that you said that, we need creatives and we need innovation, and you tied it to, what a surgeon might be wearing when they're in that practice. And I don't think that people think, the medical scrubs, they don't think there's creativity there. Yes. But there's creativity in everything that we wear, even in the functionality of clothes, wouldn't you say?
Correct. Especially living in a state where we have 4 seasons, right? Like the jackets you're wearing, and to those tank top during the summer that you want to wear. Material matters. Who's making them matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Rammy, I'm curious about your creative process. Looking at your amazing portfolio and the work that you do, I know it started somewhere. Like there was an idea, or you were inspired, or you picked up one piece of material. And so to get to those really elaborate end products, could you talk a little bit about where the ideas come from, how you put things together, that whole process you go through?
Yes. It's not a secret, but I think it's only a few people that knows, but I think maybe your audience will know this time around. But every single thing I've ever created in terms of collection-wise, it's all is an inspiration from a painting. So each season, each year, I choose a painter. A couple of painters I've chosen them because they have multiple work that speaks to me.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to like the love of art that I have. I have so much love for art, an artist. In the past, I've done collection based on, like right now, the current collection, 23-24, is by a Ferrari Shepherd. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
No.
He is young, so to speak. He's in his 40s. He's an African-American painter from Chicago. I stalk him on Instagram.
I do that with my favorite folks too. So yeah, I get it.
He's amazing. And so currently and I sent him a message too saying, hey, you're like my inspiration for 23-24 collection. But previously I've done a Basquiat collection and I've done a couple of Monets. But yeah, so depending on what season it is, and it's usually I'm inspired by a painting that I've seen. I'm a frequent visitor at the MIA, and there's just like different artists. I've done Dali. So yeah, different painters in different time. I've done Duchamp at one point. It's particularly the urinal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but maybe that's something you guys could look into.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we gotta like share all these artist names with our listeners.
I know, and we might have to have a little field trip.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Field trip with Rammy to.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
Go to my MIA.
Well, I just have to say that I love that answer, and I didn't know that, and so to hear that your love of art, like just taking inspiration, because that's how we all. I write and I'll pick up a poem and there'll be a word or a phrase in that poem that just will lead me to something new. So it's fun to hear how that works for you.
Well, thank you.
So I think one of the things that I love about your clothes and your collections is that they're so accessible to a broad range of people. Like you have, clothes that are more modest. You have clothes that are all of your, super high end and fat. Like you are somehow at the intersection of fashion where I think some people, their imagination never let them go before. And can you talk a little bit about bringing your cultural perspective to like high-end fashion?
Yeah, and you know, I do see my privileges in terms of that. I have multiple layers to me and my identity. So I'm an East African refugee in the city of St. Paul, and I am I am a Muslim woman who grew up here in America. So and also I'm a Black woman. So it's my perspective as a refugee Black woman. And so culturally, yes, I am I am Oromo from East Africa. So our region wore more one shoulder style. One of the things where me and Sina bonded over. She loves a one shoulder. And so that's my cultural aspect of it. And in terms of modesty, it's a 1 billion religion. So there are multiple women that can identify. But I realize that it's not just Muslim women who want to wear modest, right? Because although that's how we see it, as there's many faiths, Abrahamic faith, who liked modest clothes, or some people just naturally gravitate toward modesty.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just that gave me more room for me to play around with. So I make a lot of like sheer clothing, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're a modest." I'm like, "No, I'm not telling you to wear it with nothing, but you could." Sheer gives you an opportunity to layer, right? Yeah. Some people like to show off their arm but not their neck. So you could wear a turtleneck with no sleeves on it. So I feel like sheer gives you a room to play around with. So that's what I'm mostly trying to do. And in terms of for folks, I do a lot of custom clothing, or if I make just one piece, I will save another small, like a bigger portion of my fabric stays. So then if Nadege likes it, but she's like, Rammy, I love this, but I would want it like that, then I could just make it for her. That's the advantage, and that's the privilege you would have, working with a local, is that they can make it for your size. Yeah. So, and I want every woman to feel beautiful, but I never wanted to put my beliefs or what I think is fashionable on folks, because that's what the industry is trying to do in most stores also. But see, you can use fabric and silhouettes to express yourself, because I think everybody has their own style, and we can embrace it all by just giving into what they want or what they need.
Yeah.
You mentioned St. Paul. Yes. And we were talking just before the show that you make everything in your store in St. Paul, and also seem very passionate about getting people over to where we are at right now.
The fun side.
The fun side. Yes. So could you talk a little bit about, well, I have so many questions in here. Like, I love that you're making your own stuff in the store, so we could go there. But you had also mentioned the history of fashion in St. Paul, and we were looking forward to a little bit of a history lesson. So could you tell us what we should know?
Sure. I'm not going to say like I'm an expert in it. So if I have made a mistake, please correct me. I would love that. So what I've learned is that, everybody's like, why St. Paul? Why do you talk about St. Paul so much? Or, I've never lived in Minneapolis or any other city. I've lived in St. Paul like on purpose, right? Yes. My family and I called St. Paul home since we've migrated. This city has given us so much. So I want to give back to that. And I start researching and growing up, learning about the Randall neighborhood and what happened there, and or how can I contribute to the city I love so much, and also contribute to a community that fought so hard to bring African Americans in this community. And I'm referring to most of the African American communities who were educated and were in a lawmaking space and made room for African immigrants and refugees to come into St. Paul.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to give back to that. And that also led me into researching. So then I keep researching and I keep learning that, in the 1930s, St. Paul was a sanctuary city. So all the mobsters used to come into St. Paul. And being on the Mississippi River also gave us a big head, an advantage, of course. Yeah. So there's ships, not like they're flying or anything like that. So when those mobsters would come, there's a lot of speakeasies, there's a lot of tunnels and things like that. And that also gave rooms to creatives. So all the best fine wool and silk and things like that were also getting imported into the city of St. Paul. And that means there were artisans that are making these coats and suits and things like that. So I wanted to highlight that part. Like I think there is... that's the part I want to bring back into St. Paul. And so we have Jaime's around the corner for the dapper guys. And so I wanted to have that for the ladies, that it could come in here. And so I wanted to make my mark in the city, saying like the most fashionable clothes also can come in from St. Paul, Minnesota. And so that's my passion. And I want to teach the kiddos. Yes.
Tradition.
Absolutely.
I love that so much. Like, I love that you've tied it back to the history of the space. And now you're in a storefront in the St. Paul Skyway. So like part of the revitalization of the sky, post COVID, we're trying to do everything we can, right, to get people back downtown. Correct. And, what is it like to be a part of that and to be in a space like that? Because you're not in a little boutique on a street level. Like, you're in the Skyway, in the sort of hustle and bustle of the business day.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. That goes to show you networking is so important.
All right, folks, you heard it.
Yeah. It's so important getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah, because I was working from my basement, and I'm sure Sina remembers the many fittings that we've had in my basement studio. But yeah, so for me, it was my very first storefront / studio. For me, also as a journey as an artist, discovering, or learning the boundaries between, a workspace and a living space where I live. Separating the two was so important, and I didn't know what that meant mentally. Yeah. So for me to have a space where I can go in, create things, and be like, okay, I'm tired now, I'm going to go home, rest, and then come back with, with a fresh mind in the morning. That's definitely has helped me a lot. And also being on the Skyway, you never know who you run into. Right. And Angela Davis walks every day. I'm just like, I one day I'll have the courage to say hi.
Just say. Okay, Angela, if you're listening, please say hi to Rammy.
Yes.
I've helped her when she purchased a dress a long time ago. So I'm familiar with her. But I was like, oh my God, there goes Angela Davis.
I love it. Just so you know, there are people who walk by your shop and they're like, oh my God, that's Rammy's shop. I don't think I can go in there.
Why not? Please come in.
Because you're just I said it, you're highly acclaimed, and there are people who are intimidated by your creativity.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, in the best way. Like they'll get there. They'll get in the shot.
Please come say hi.
But in that sort of way. So I just want you to know there's this whole circle of life here happening.
Wow.
Can we talk about intimidation with fashion for a second? Maybe I'm talking to both of you.
Yeah.
For people who feel like even just getting dressed in the morning, maybe I might be speaking for myself, like making the selections and figuring out what looks good. And it's an art, and I'm just wondering if you could give some of us some advice on how to make fashion less intimidating.
I think listening to these blogs and these so-called fashion experts and the things that you've heard, forget it.
I was going to say,
forget it. There's no such a thing as somebody just was born with that or whatever. Right. They just wanted to dictate things. That's their opinion, right? Like even what I'm about to tell you is my opinion. Right.
But I'm going to listen. So,
but I think with fashion, and I think a lot of Muslim women also suffer from that, is like what's considered modest, right? Because not a lot of items are available for you. It takes a little imagination. And now what I always say is, where's the one photo you have of you that you don't mind posting over and over again? And then I always say, what do you have on that day? Like, what was that item that you were wearing, right? And I always say, buy something you like, not what other people think is nice. Like, there's so many cool things that Nadege wear that I wish I could wear, but I just don't have the torso for it. So just right? So understanding your body, right? What part of your body you want to show off that you love, right? And also getting things that are just whether shopping local or shopping somewhere that will remind you of that person or that thing or that feeling.
I love that.
All the time. Not your layer pieces, maybe perhaps not. But, but I think shopping like that would help. And there's no rule.
No.
There's no rule.
I mean, other than that, you have to put clothes on.
That you have to get there. Yes.
No shoes, no shirts, no
right,
service,
right, that kind of thing.
But.
Yeah. Thank you.
Even for that, there's new shoes now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
But yeah, I think
those are very tangible, concrete things that people, including myself, can do. First of all, eschew the rules.
You
Bye-bye.
look very good right now. Look the color.
I'm gloating.
Seriously.
I'm floating. Yeah.
That's a beautiful.
I think that I kind of match you two. Is there some green? I have chartreuse.
We do have a color coordination going on today.
Yes, we do.
Oh my goodness. So you are doing, I think, some really interesting partnership work. Like you, one, you're in that storefront. I know you were doing, and I'm going to get this wrong, something with like Metro Transit.
Yes.
Ooh, I want to hear about this.
So I think, there's an advantage of being in this city, right? Like you get to work with fun individuals and fun organizations. So I do get once in a while, I get a fun opportunity, such as like I had an opportunity to work with you guys.
That was big.
Yeah,
it was. Talk about that.
Oh, I'm so glad. So for me, it was so much fun just creating something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right, and getting an inspiration from their logo. So I had an for the audience that didn't know, I had an opportunity to custom made a scarf.
Yes.
That's inspired by the St. Paul, Minnesota Foundation logo, and so I was able to, make something custom for them. So in that realm, I had an opportunity to work with Metro Transit. There's a new proposed map there's a new line. It's called the Blue Extension line. That's going to be going from downtown Minneapolis. I was going to say St. Paul. It's going to go from downtown Minneapolis to Brooklyn Park. So, there was a lot of controversy on where it's going to go through because we don't want another 94 again.
Understood.
Going through Broadway. So that all of that and what that means. And so there is a proposed map, but I don't think it's official yet. But yeah, so I used that to create, I used the maps and I print them and created a garment out of them to educate the community or the folks around that this project is coming along. And if you have any question, you can reach out to them. Yeah. And now I get to work with the NEO partners and yeah. It's really cool.
Well, that really speaks to where inspiration can start, which is anywhere.
Yes,
if we're talking about a bus line and a map, that's just a really, really cool leap. And also you work as a cultural consultant, it sounds like. Can you talk a little bit about that work and what it looks like?
Yeah, so I think earlier on it's still, in terms of how to talk to companies and organizations who are either, my expertise as a Muslim woman, again, in the Muslim community, in terms of fashion-wise. I worked with Rosedale Center where we're trying to see these malls every end of Ramadan. There are thousands and thousands of Muslims in Minnesota who are shopping, but advertising and special coupons or any accommodations are not being met, such as like a place to pray in the last 10 days of Ramadan in these malls because we're shopping and we're fasting and there's no designated place for us to pray. So I want to thank Rosedale Center to work with me. Another one I did was I'm working with a company called Mawadda. I created and I designed them hygienic hijabs. So they're use and throw hijabs for medical.
Yeah.
So it's a company based in St. Paul also. They're both the Twin Cities, I should say, because I'm not sure where they're registered. I like the things in St. Paul. But yeah, so having these disposable hijabs available for medical employees. So I designed that through that system also. So what does innovation looks like? Providing, different different things for different communities. So that not
great.
cultural.
And that really
goes in there.
brings to home the example you used earlier with medical personnel and what they're wearing. And this is a very practical piece that they need. So
and now we're hitting another one, which is like medical scrubs that are modest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of women who are forced to wear pants who, religiously don't
wear pants.
Yeah. So we're making skirts and we're making shirts that are long enough. And also, my cousin is a nurse, so if she's wearing these cloth hijabs and sometimes they're in an ER, they're on top of the gurney and they're giving CPR. You don't want these scarves, touching wounds and things like that, because they are materials and they will move and they're soft. So thinking an innovative way of covering their body without being exposed, yet giving assistance and also being modest or having a respected attire for their religion also. So I bet non-Muslims are also loving it, because if you're in the ER or anywhere you want to cover your hair, at least you could get to use it and throw it. So it's use and throw for so we've been doing that for the last 2.5 years, and it's rigorous work, but it's fun. So that's another side, right? Like adding to the economy locally. And I'm very passionate about creating clothes. So another thing that I'm working on is possibly opening something like a manufacturer in St. Paul.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh my goodness. That is like, you are doing so much.
A lot.
It's fashion, it's commerce, it's, creative. Like, it's just the things that you're talking about are so great. And we personally love that you're talking about St. Paul so much in the work that you're doing. And so this is going to go a little, sort of off of fashion, but it's going to stick to St. Paul. What are some of your St. Paul favorites? Because you're clearly a St. Paul girl.
I'm a St. Paul girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Some of my favorite things in St. Paul. Other than, first, I love the Randall neighborhood, so I like to try all the restaurants there. Revivals is like one of my favorite.
Okay. All right.
So I go there quite a bit.
Nice.
And I'm a habit walker around on Grand.
Okay.
So either there's an Indian spot over there that I think my sister is sick of. So anything on Grand, really, Salute is one of my favorite also. I go there quite a bit, especially during winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always over there.
All right. Yeah. So if we're, looking for something to do, we hang out on Grand and we'll see you eventually.
You probably will see me there. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to see you at your store, because I'm gonna walk by and turn and come in and
come wave.
Yes.
We're gonna get Mel some glitter pants.
Oh,
we should.
Can we do that?
I just sold one, but totally, I can make you one.
Okay, yeah. I think.
Okay, now this is my this is the 2024 goals.
Have Mel and
can't
glitter
wait for my glitter pants.
That she's gonna rock out to maybe the next Facing Race. Who knows?
Oh, I know.
Oh, look at that! All the tying the bows together.
Yes.
Which is incredible, by the way.
Oh,
I was moved.
Yeah, so glad you were able to join us this year. And so you can share with folks next year and future years. They should come if they have the opportunity to come now.
Absolutely. My goodness, you would leave from that event. I was so uplifted. It was a rough week, and I was so uplifted.
Oh,
you need that sometimes, and seeing what folks are doing in different areas, and again, seeing women contributing to our city too.
Yes.
Those women were just incredible. Just incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. It was moved.
Great event.
Yeah. It's very, very empowering.
Well, they give our Facing Race Award recipients always give us a new lens to look at everything, through what they're doing, and how, making pies can be a moment and to change a perspective. And you've done the same for us today. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm just really thinking through the lens that we all bring to our work anywhere, making it even more inclusive. And I think the work that you're doing is really an example of that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And this conversation has been, you all can't see, but we've all been like grinning from ear to ear during this conversation. So we have been sort of wrapped in joy, but I would love to close with giving you just a chance to share, like, these days, what is bringing you joy?
All these different documentaries I've been finding.
Oh,
really? I'm a documentary junkie.
Okay.
Yeah, documentaries and some ginger tea. That's what I've been doing. I've been just carving a little time for myself, just on the couch and just watching documentaries.
Oh,
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
It's been really good.
That sounds
It's been
perfect.
bringing me joy.
Rammy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having
wonderful
me.
combo.
I so appreciate you. Now,
Yeah.
I love it.
Nadege, she's a delight.
Right?
I mean, she is really, really a delight. And I'm going to get those sparkly pants.
I mean, you have to now. We've said it. We've spoken it into existence.
We have. What do I have to do though? Like,
well, you're going to walk to her studio, and then you're going to talk about it, and you're going to figure it out.
Oh, goodness.
I think it'll be great. That conversation was so much fun, because I think often when people think fashion, they think frivolity. Like if you say, I'm into fashion, people kind of, just fashion. But clearly it's so much more, it is and can be so much more than that.
Clearly. I mean, she uses it as a tool and to open people's mind, even connecting it to the history.
Correct.
From the history of St. Paul to looking at functional clothing, to looking at, culturally appropriate and specific clothing and practices. She really showed us how fashion can be so much more than, like you said, people often think.
Yeah. It's the fabric of community.
Oh, can we even go on from there? No, we must close.
No, I think we got to call it done at this point.
All right.
Thank you for listening to I So Appreciate You. You can find us on Facebook at I So Appreciate You Podcast and on Instagram at So Appreciate You.
We'd also appreciate you taking a moment to write us a review. And if you like our show, be sure to follow I So Appreciate You on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us right now.
Have a question or topic suggestion? Email us at podcast@spmcf.org. Thank you for listening to I So Appreciate You.